By the spring of 1865, the American Civil War had claimed more than 600,000 lives on domestic soil. It was a scale of carnage that seemed impossible for a nation founded on the utopian premise that all men are created equal. This conflict grew from a persistent friction. The more land the nation acquired, the more its fragile political compromises began to grind toward a breaking point. This pressure didn't start with society, but with the massive financial fallout following the British victory in the French and Indian War. By 1763, the British Empire secured the North American continent, yet the cost of that victory left the crown with a staggering imperial debt. To pay it off, Parliament levied direct taxes on the American colonists, a move that provided the empire with revenue, but denied the colonies any voice in how those laws were made. Economic resentment turned to physical violence in 1770, when an organized volley from British regulars killed 5 civilians on the streets of Boston. The event shifted the colonial focus away from tax reform. The conversation was now about a total political divorce. In July 1776, they formally severed ties with the British Crown, drafting the Declaration of Independence to frame their rebellion as a pursuit of universal, unalienable rights. But the first government they built, the Articles of Confederation, was too weak to manage a sovereign nation, leading to state-level trade wars and domestic uprisings that the central government was powerless to stop. To prevent a total collapse, delegates met in 1787 to draft the Constitution, establishing a stronger federal authority divided into 3 distinct branches. However, to ensure the southern states stayed in this new union, the framers made a silent legal provision to protect the institution of chattel slavery. This created a structural fault line. The nation's founding document now contained a legal protection for human bondage that was entirely at odds with its rhetoric of liberty. This tension was manageable as long as the country was small, but the 1803 Louisiana Purchase added over 800,000 square miles to the map, doubling the nation's size. Making this land viable for white settlement meant the forced relocation of native tribes. Under the Indian Removal Act, thousands were marched westward beyond the Mississippi in a state-sponsored displacement that claimed roughly 15,000 lives. By the 1840s, the drive for manifest destiny led to the conquest of Mexican territories, finally pushing the American border all the way to the Pacific coastline. With each new territory added, the central question in Washington became unavoidable. Would the new state expand the reach of slavery, or would it be mandated as free soil? For decades, politicians used lines on a map to keep the peace, like the Missouri Compromise, which attempted to mathematically balance slave and free regions. That balance shattered in the 1850s, when the government left the choice to local settlers in Kansas, sparking a localized civil war that killed hundreds. Abolitionist resistance turned violent in 1859, when John Brown led a raid on the federal arsenal at Harper's Ferry, hoping to spark an armed slave uprising across the South. When an anti-slavery Republican, Abraham Lincoln, won the presidency in 1860, the Southern states concluded that the political machinery of compromise had finally failed them. The secession crisis turned into open war in April 1861, when Confederate batteries opened fire on the federal garrison at Fort Sumter. As the war dragged into its second year, Lincoln expanded the Union's war aims, using the Emancipation Proclamation to target the institution of slavery in the rebellious states. The Union eventually secured a military victory and the passage of the 13th Amendment, but Lincoln's assassination in 1865 meant the nation would face the difficult process of Reconstruction without its primary architect. That Reconstruction ended abruptly in 1877. A political deal to settle a contested election resulted in the withdrawal of federal troops from the South, effectively abandoning Black citizens to the rise of Jim Crow laws. At the same moment, the nation celebrated the completion of the Transcontinental Railroad, a feat of engineering that physically unified the continent from sea to shining sea. The geographic conquest was complete, but by leaving the promise of equal protection unenforced in 1877, the nation secured its borders while deferring the true cost of its founding ideals. The story of 1776 is drilled into us from childhood. 13 coastal colonies break away from the British Crown, write a constitution, and begin a new democratic experiment. But look at the United States today. A single nation commands a global network of military bases and dictates international trade. The standard history books explain this ascent through a familiar sequence of events: pioneers pushing westward across the frontier, industrial titans building railroads and factories, and victorious military campaigns across 2 world wars. Yet maintaining a standing military across multiple continents and enforcing ideological victories costs trillions of dollars. Historically, empires that rely purely on military expansion exhaust their treasuries and collapse. How did the United States afford to build and keep this much global leverage without bankrupting itself? Battlefield victories alone do not secure a lasting global footprint. A nation must build invisible, self-sustaining economic engines that force other countries to rely on it. Beneath the recognizable timeline of elections and battles lies a shadow timeline. Over 2 centuries, Washington executed a calculated series of strategic acquisitions, exclusive financial contracts, and technological monopolies. By examining 4 specific geopolitical moves, we can trace exactly how the United States constructed a system that makes the rest of the world economically dependent on its survival. In 1803, France was fighting multiple wars across Europe. The campaigns drained the French treasury, leaving Napoleon Bonaparte severely short on capital. Jefferson exploited Napoleon's debt, buying the 800,000 square mile Louisiana territory for $15 million, 3 cents an acre. The real prize was the Mississippi River network. Owning it secured the primary inland water route connecting the North American interior to the Gulf of Mexico. Overnight, the United States eliminated a major European power from its western border and secured a monopoly on continental trade routes, ensuring physical security and economic dominance in the Western Hemisphere. By 1944, as the Allies closed in on victory, Europe's industrial centers lay in ruins. Decades of infrastructure were completely leveled, leaving foreign treasuries empty. Delegates from 44 Allied nations gathered at Bretton Woods, New Hampshire, to construct a new international monetary system that could stabilize global trade. The American delegation held overwhelming leverage. With the U.S. economy intact, Washington held the vast majority of the world's remaining physical gold reserves. This flowchart illustrates the structure of the resulting agreement. The system pegged the value of the U.S. dollar directly to gold. In turn, every other participating nation was required to peg their currency to the U.S. dollar. By monopolizing the exchange mechanism for international trade, the United States positioned itself as the financial regulator for the global economy. A decade later, the Cold War directed national attention upward. The launch of Soviet satellites generated widespread anxiety in the U.S. regarding foreign technological superiority. In response to this perceived vulnerability, the Department of Defense established the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, or DARPA, to fund experimental technological development. The agency utilized massive defense budgets to construct early computing mainframes. These experimental projects aggressively targeted the basic frameworks of global data processing and communication. Engineers developed the Global Positioning System, launched advanced communication satellites, and wrote the packet switching protocols that became the modern internet. Because these essential tools were incubated within the American defense sector, U.S. corporations were the first to commercialize them, ensuring global digital networks would rely on American-made hardware and standards. By 1971, mounting debt forced President Richard Nixon to end the Bretton Woods system, severing the dollar's gold convertibility and threatening its reserve status. Concurrently, oil embargoes caused severe fuel shortages. Long lines at gas pumps proved the American economy was dangerously vulnerable to foreign energy producers. In 1974, Washington dispatched delegates to Saudi Arabia. The U.S. offered extensive military equipment and protection for the Saudi royal family and their oil fields. This transactional diagram outlines the reciprocal condition. Saudi Arabia agreed to denominate all global oil sales strictly in U.S. dollars. If any foreign nation wanted to purchase Saudi oil, they first had to exchange their local currency for American money. The agreement forced central banks worldwide to stockpile dollars to meet energy needs, creating a permanent artificial demand for U.S. currency that replaced gold. Today, American global influence relies on this deep structural integration. The system operates through control of physical maritime routes, a dominant reserve currency, foundational internet protocols, and the baseline pricing of global energy. A rival state might build a large enough military to challenge US borders, but bypassing a combined financial and technological matrix used by the entire planet is a much steeper barrier. Maintaining superpower status requires recognizing periods of vulnerability, a lack of capital, the devastation of post-war economies, technological anxiety, and energy crises, and converting them into permanent systems of international reliance. If you found this geopolitical breakdown valuable, hit the like button and subscribe to MK Insight Nexus for more structural analysis.